Welcome to the third video in my series, thinking about the changes that are going on in the pandemic and in the world at the current time. Now, in the last video, I was getting us to think about the things that we can control and the things that we can't control. And one of the things that we can control is what we do and the decisions that we make. So as we start to perhaps think ahead to what may or may not happen over the next 6 months, I want us to just take a bit of time to reflect back on the last lockdown and think about what we learnt. Now, I don't know about you, wherever you are in the world, but here in the UK, it was a panic at the beginning. And some of the things that we did and some of the things that we thought were based on the information we had available at the time. But like I said yesterday, we have the benefit of hindsight. That's why the politicians started to get criticised, because the media had the benefit of hindsight. And of course, hindsight is 20/20 vision. We have the benefit of that 20/20 vision now. So whatever happens over the next few days or weeks or months, we can learn some things from the last lockdown. Now, I've got 7 that I have thought of. If there are more after these 7, please do share them in that comment box below, because I have no doubt that there are even more. But 7 is a good number to think of. So the first thing that we learnt during the last lockdown is that the shops stay well stocked. So we don't need to stockpile or panic buy, as much as we might feel the urge. There are psychological reasons why we feel the urge to stockpile and panic buy, and those are psychological reasons that can be very, very strong and hard to resist. But we know that the supply chain for the shops didn't get affected. Interestingly, part of it was because, certainly here in the UK, the supply chain has changed over the last 20 years. So whereas there used to be a warehouse out the back of the supermarket, now, because of the cost of space and the need to sell, they get deliveries that go straight out on the shelves, and then once they come off the shelves, they're not going to get another delivery until probably that night or the next day. So whereas 20 years ago, if this was happening, the shelves would have managed to stay stocked because they would be bringing out supplies from the warehouse out the back. That doesn't happen these days. Okay, so one key learning from the last lockdown: the shops will be able to stay well stocked. We will never run out of toilet rolls. That always confused me, if I'm honest, because diarrhea isn't one of the symptoms, so I never quite understood why people were buying lots of toilet rolls, but maybe that's just me. I actually found myself going to the supermarket to buy toilet rolls because we needed toilet rolls, and I found myself apologising to the person who was in the toilet roll aisle, making sure people only took 1 pack. Luckily he knew us, it was okay. But feeling shame buying toilet rolls was a bit crazy with hindsight. Okay, what else did we learn during the last lockdown? We learned that it's actually easier than we thought to stay in touch online. Now, the funny thing is that I've been doing online support for years, and I've always struggled to get people to try the online support. Let's gather online. We can. It's easy. People liked face-to-face. Now, I like face-to-face. I'd still prefer to have everybody in a room, but obviously logistics means that that's not always easy or possible. However, lockdown enabled us to learn that it is easy to stay in touch online, and my social gatherings were literally born at the beginning of lockdown. We meet on Zoom, and we also go into small groups and can share and chat in small groups. We have people from West Coast America and the UK. We've had people from We've had somebody from Poland and West Coast America, and never eat East Coast America. It's great. It's so easy to stay in touch online. Now, I fully appreciate that there was Zoom fatigue during the last lockdown, because everybody, when they discovered the ability to meet online, were having pub quizzes, family get-togethers, and it became quite exhausting. I completely appreciate that. But again, if you like, the learning is that it is easy to stay in touch online. If we combine that with what I was talking about in the previous video about boundaries, if we just put our boundaries in place, you know, we can have too many staying in touch online. Okay, the third thing that we learned, well, I certainly learned, I hope I'm not the only one, is that we probably don't need to eat as much if we're in lockdown. 2.5 stone. 35 pounds I put on in lockdown. And of course now I'm paying the price for it, and now I am having to work to lose that. Literally not walking around as much. Walking up and down my garden to my office. My office is at the end of the garden, but realising that I don't need to eat as much if I am in lockdown. So actually the amount of food that I need to buy has reduced. Fourth thing that we probably learnt during the last lockdown is we have fewer outside distractions during lockdown. So actually it is going to be easier to focus on something. Yeah? If we have fewer outside distractions, it's easier to focus on something. Now, people who have a clutter challenge, the majority of them struggle to focus and finish. They tend to flit. Now again, there's psychological reasons why we flit. It's not our fault. And people who are on their clutter clearing 7-step journey do learn about those. But again, if we know that actually during lockdown we can actually probably be more productive because it's easier to focus on doing something. Lots of people started their clutter clearing journey during lockdown and did really, really well. But then it was really interesting that as lockdown restrictions started to be lifted, people started to procrastinate and get distracted. So again, you know, valuable feedback and learning from the last lockdown. Fifth, we hopefully learnt that we can still clear our clutter during lockdown. Now, you may have not done any clutter clearing during lockdown because you thought, well, I can't take things to the charity or the thrift store. You know, I can't get things out of my home. Okay, yeah. However, we can clear our paperwork clutter. We can clear our email clutter. Yes, I know a lot of people don't think email clutter is a problem, but trust me, it is. And we can clear computer clutter. We can clear the digital clutter that we have. I'm sure that you have photograph clutter on your mobile or cell phone or your tablet. Again, paperwork clutter is a great one for the physical clutter because during lockdown, recycling curbside collection continued, as far as I'm aware, in every country, in every region. So although we may not be able to work on our big and bulky backlog clutter, as I call it, so the sorts of things that may go to a charity shop or a thrift store, we can constructively, productively work on our paperwork clutter, our email clutter and our computer clutter. And I guarantee that if you have big and bulky backlog clutter, you will have paperwork clutter and you will have email clutter. Okay, so we can be productive during lockdown and work on that type of clutter. Okay. The sixth thing we hopefully learnt during lockdown is that actually having a positive project to focus on can actually help us reduce a sense of overwhelm or anxiety or depression or loneliness. when we have something to focus on, it can help reduce all those other things that we experience as a result of having our clutter. Yeah. Again, some people are very good at focusing on procrastinating, and if they put that kind of energy into dealing with their clutter, they do brilliantly. But we know that having something to focus on, to take our minds away from the madness that's going on out there in that world, the bit that we can't control, will help us to manage that sense of overwhelm, that anxiety, depression and loneliness. Okay, especially if it helps take our time away from obsessively watching the news for bits of information that actually aren't going to make any difference to us in the here and now, and you know, in our lives. Okay, so hopefully we learned that having a positive project to focus on can help manage how we're feeling. I know quite a lot of people had a project of doing their gardens because it was spring and summer here in the UK during lockdown. It's not going to be the same in winter. In winter, we're going to need to have that positive project as a focus that is indoor. Now, if that doesn't shout out doing our clutter clearing, I don't know what does, because our clutter is indoors, isn't it? It's a perfect winter project to focus on so that we don't feel so anxious and depressed and lonely with what's going on with the pandemic. Okay, and hopefully we also learnt that actually, those who started their clutter clearing journey during the last lockdown, they also learnt that it's actually really easy to get online support if we need it. I know I said earlier that it's easy to stay in touch online, but sometimes just seeing somebody online and going, hey, isn't enough, is it? Sometimes we just need to be able to vent and to go, I've had a really bad day, I've had a really bad week, I feel like giving up, especially if we picked a project to focus on. I don't know what to do, I got stuck, I feel like giving up, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm starting to watch more and more news. I'm starting to get more anxious about what's going on. Actually, because it's easy to stay in touch online, it's also easy to get online support if we need it. So what else did you learn or realise during the last lockdown? I'm sure I've missed hundreds of things. These are just the things that I'm aware of. Do share in that comment box below this video what you learnt during the last lockdown that would be useful to take into whatever happens over the next few months. Okay, that's it for this video. I shall see you in the next one.